Be a good little fella now and open the door.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Before the new episode begins, where I talk about 3 specials that I just recently saw, let's begin with our previous night's review. So, previous night, what do you have? Thank you, daytime version of myself reviewing the new special, whatever it was. I'm here to talk about the holiday specials for a show that I've actually recently been getting back into ever since it first came on, that show being Regular Show. So I have 3 episodes for you. The Christmas special, and the White Elephant Gift Exchange, and Merry Christmas Mordecai. So, essentially the plot for the first episode, A Christmas Story, is that Mordecai and Rigby wind up finding Santa into the garage where their vehicles are. Santa tells them about this mysterious present, which looks like an average, ordinary Christmas present, but looking inside, it has this sort of anonymous glow to it, which can have anyone's wish granted for them. I think I just acted like Christopher Walken for a moment there, trying to think of something. It doesn't matter. Essentially, Mordecai and Rigby wind up showing the rest of the crew the present, and they're forced to go to this lava pit where they have to destroy the present. Otherwise, this evil elf will wind up destroying Christmas. What's interesting about the present is that sort of anyone who looks inside the box will be immediately filled with greed, and if multiple people view it, they'll wind up fighting over the thing. It results in the crew wind up actually bringing the present to the lava pit with the fight climax between both Mordecai and Rigby and the elf that made the present. And what a better way to go along to a big climax than playing Trans-Siberian Orchestra of the song Christmas Eve. And definitely, it's a perfect match for this episode. Because not only is it absolutely hilarious, but it's also a real good, holiday special. I mean, sure, you got, the standard, stuff that will be in a modern cartoon. There'll be parts where there'll be, what could I say, sort of Cartoon Network has not been what they used to back then, but that's because they had the Judge Doom president on there at that time. But luckily, the show has been getting better and better. I mean, I've watched Regular Show, I've watched Gumball on Cartoon Network nowadays, and they're both really good shows. And if anything, I would highly recommend I would recommend the Christmas special as being the fact that it's probably the most epic 2-parter you will ever see in your entire life. Now, as for the new episodes that have come on this season, we first have the White Elephant Gift Exchange. Basically, the whole crew, except Muscle Man, is basically getting sick and tired of these White Elephant Gift Exchange because basically Muscle Man winds up giving them the most terrible of gifts as ever. So they decide to basically mark vengeance on them. Unfortunately, they think that this time Muscle Man turns out good as he opens up Muscle Man's present, which, believe it or not, it looks like a box of a brand new TV. However, as soon as they wind up going through time, or at least to a place where the actual White Elephant Gift Exchange god is, they wind up actually asking him to go back so that they could basically mark their revenge on Muscle Man for all their terrible gifts in the day, like itching powder in the ugly Christmas sweaters, the gloves made of underwear. There's just so many of them that it's just too golden, and definitely real hilarious just how the revenge turns out. Well, actually, the rest of the crew, Benson, High Five Ghost, and Muscle Man, Skips, that's it, and Pops, wind up going back into their reality, going inside the TV box, and finds out that it was just filled with garbage. Hopefully that doesn't attract rats or anything like that. And the next thing you know, they decide to let Muscle Man open up the present. And of course, all those variety of things I mentioned, expired food, all the gifts they'd gotten, and baseball, and a wrestling elf who was in the alley in one of the scenes. It absolutely pays gold for a great vengeance. But what's also hilarious is that during that scene, you know what song plays in the background? Blue Lives, Holly Jolly Christmas. It's just absolutely hilarious to hear something like this in a a special like this, where it's well known for playing commonly, like, if I remember right, 1980s music tracks. I mean, I remember the second episode of, or at least the first episode of the beginner for the second season opens up with an 80s track, which is quite interesting for the show, but actually makes it really unique that they're actually bringing some of the 80s music into modern cartoons like this. It really shows that it really is creative for whoever thought that idea up. It might have been the creators. But with that said, let's get to our last episode, which is Merry Christmas, Mordecai. If you've been keeping up with the newer seasons of regular show, you might have noticed that, of course, Mordecai has a new girlfriend. It ain't Margaret, it's CJ. It's like this little, she cloud that floats around. The one thing is that Mordecai has to make it through a Christmas party with CJ without messing everything up. Essentially, he never realized that Margaret actually was still in the town, but actually working at a news station, and actually is going to be CJ's new, not CJ. Who's the name of Rigby's girlfriend? Shoot, now I forget. So essentially, he winds up messing up everything. CJ starts running out. He confesses that he loved Margaret, and they both met each other, but unfortunately CJ runs out of the party as a mean storm without getting in contact with her, and he literally finds out that Margaret's moving in with Mordecai's girlfriend. Overall, I really think that these Christmas specials are really a great part of what makes the newer Cartoon Network series actually pretty good. I mean, they've been putting out a lot of good stuff. I mean, they've got, they got regular show, they got Gumball, they just have just about everything. Steven Universe. They're actually pretty good shows for the new modern Cartoon Network. So, if you ever get a chance, go ahead and go see it. And now, without further ado, let me bring you back to today's reviewer reviewing whatever. So long, and most likely probably see you tomorrow. Thank you, Nighttime Self. Today I took a look at 3 specials. 2 of them I've seen for the first time, another one I've seen since I was a kid. First we have The Small One, from Don Bluth before he left Disney. I thought that this was like a non-Christmas special, but one of the endings in this actually turns out to be a Christmas special that actually can be found on this DVD, Christmas Holiday Specials, or Classic Holiday Stories. The Small One essentially is Don Bluth's directing animated short about a young boy who's trying to sell off his very old donkey so that his father can make some pay. But he gets himself into some certain scenarios, like he tries to auction off the thing, but obviously he makes fun of him too much. One of the guards leads him to a poacher. There's just so much goodness and just a real sense of atmosphere that can be found within any Don Bluth production. I mean, this is a guy who did Secret of Nim and American Tail and The Land Before Time. It's probably one of his finest works from Disney before he left the studio. The small one is clearly no exception. The animated film is probably one of my favorites, where the young boy discovers the true spirit of the season, which is basically one of the interesting stories, because it's sort of like the Little Drummer Boy, where he's trying to find the true meaning of Christmas. Ever since, well, back when he was young, and back then he couldn't trust humans, especially what they'd done to his family. Now let's get to the special that I've seen before, that I've actually seen ever since I was a kid. The special being Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Basically animated by Chuck Jones, this 30-minute tale basically takes from Dr. Seuss's original story. But of course it can't be Christmas without viewing this and the Grinch. Essentially the story is this. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. He hated the holiday, the whole Christmas season. It's actually a really good animated story with basically the guy who did Tony the Tiger as the singer for one of the songs in the special, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. I remember basically as a kid really enjoying this, but not only that, but it also has an extra short on here, Horton Hears a Who. Overall, The Grinch is one of my favorite animated shorts, and definitely if you get the time, give yourself a chance to go see it. I mean, obviously some of you may remember this and probably could remember it off the top of your head, but that's basically another story. Last but not least, we have our last special that, for the first time, I sat down and saw. Chuck Jones animated and featuring the voices of Mel Blanc, we have A Very Merry Cricket. So, some of you probably may not have heard of this special before, and that's probably pretty understandable. However, the availability on this is available through a DVD called the Chuck Jones Collection from Lionsgate, and it has this on here. Basically, it's a sequel to a story called The Cricket in Times Square, where essentially there's this cricket that has the ability to basically play sort of violin style on his little wings of his. He doesn't chirp, he doesn't make that little sound when audiences don't find anything funny. He just plays music. A cat and a mouse essentially decide that they need to get him from Connecticut and bring him over to New York because, of course, the streets are filled with what most people find Christmas nowadays. Consumerism, people on Black Fridays, and I think that's about it. I know of one trait of New York, but I just don't want to offend the New Yorkians. It's actually a really good special than I expected it to. I thought it was okay, what's the special about? It's like a cricket that somehow knows holiday music. It just seems a little bit weird. But how could you go wrong with somebody as Mel Blanc in a Chuck Jones special? You probably can't. So, basically, the small one I highly recommend. The Grinch, you've seen it a lot as a kid. Very Merry Cricket. As the first time I'm seeing it, prop rating, I say, what should be the prop rating for this? I don't know. Maybe 5 violin crickets? Who knows? Small one, let's say 5 pelted animals. They're real good specials, highly recommended. I don't know whether you can find this one on YouTube or not. Same goes with the small one. But the Grinch, hopefully you might have this in your collection, or lucky enough to see this on either ABC or Cartoon Network whenever it comes on. So, basically that's all there is to this day, and have yourselves a good time, and see you guys tomorrow for a new classic. Goodbye.